Hey, what is up, Knife Bros? Today, I bring to you a bit of a throwback. Seems like some people forgot, but do not sleep on this very, very special knife. Today, I bring to you the Lee Williams Kickstop. All right, so without further ado, this is the Lee Williams Kickstop, the F22. Has a patent on the Kickstop, and I can tell you, you may have heard this, quite a while back from Neves, did a video and covered this knife, Metal Complex covered this knife, and all of them said the same thing, something that I really didn't believe until I got this knife in hand. I'm a big fan of flipper tabs. I prefer multiple means of deployment, but big fan of the flipper tab. And I have some that absolutely slap. But once I got this in hand, I definitely understood the hype. It's just different. The way this knife deploys, the power that it kicks out with, it feels like a really good automatic, to tell you the truth. Alright, so details. This is a hidden frame lock, which is fantastic. I have a few frame locks, and they run all the way down, and your hand's always getting in the way. You can't deploy the blade. Don't have that problem here. The access to that lock, or the frame lock, is fantastic. The knife itself, overall design, this is just classy. Like, this is hype. If you want a gentleman's carry, look no further, and you can absolutely do no better. And aside from that, the F22 comes with a little bit of magic, a little bit of something extra. And the magic trick is... Ooh, God, that's good. Where'd that flipper tab go? Well, you can't see it. There it is, hiding right there behind the blade. And this design has a detached flipper tab. So, what that means is, when you deploy the blade, the flipper tab tucks in and hides right back here, just underneath the pivot, and actually acts as a kind of like a lock pin, but a lot better than a lock pin for the blade, making this an extremely, extremely strong locking system. I would love to see this tested. I'm not gonna abuse this one, but I would love to see this tested, how it holds up against some of the, more prominent locking systems out there, because I think this would be right up there with the big boys. But first of all, the champering on this knife, the overall feel, fit and finish, and execution is just amazing. And the power that you get on deployment. And I think some of it has to do with, it's just a feel thing, kind of a touch thing. You have to experience to really understand. But because that flipper tab isn't connected to the blade, it's like the amount of kinetic energy that it builds with a very strong detent is just phenomenal. Like, that just hits different. If you haven't experienced this knife, definitely worth running back and trying to get your hands on. This is one of my favorite knives in my collection, honestly, that I've ever held, and it's going out the door today. Kind of a catch and release. But let's talk action. This knife is just buttery smooth, like that next level, high-end quality, slow drop that you only get from precise engineering, and that's exactly what you get here. We will go ahead and do some measurements real quick. Obviously, if you saw the last video, we hit a few fumbles in the midst of that. In fact, you know what? This time I'm just going to skip it because I don't have the tools on hand. So, my boy, could you please give me, somewhere right up here, could you give me the measurements, the blade length, overall length, and give you a second to clear that. And then maybe give us the weight of this particular version. This is the titanium one, and it's quite a bit heavier than the micarta. The micarta has full tie scales, but due to this having the outlay of, or the, I guess you'd call that not an inlay, but because the cover is titanium, I think it's like almost half an ounce heavier, but it's the right kind of half an ounce heavier. When you pick this up, you almost expect it to weigh that, just due to the look and overall feel. That is, oh my god, that is so satisfying, man. Like, I'm telling you, if you guys haven't experienced this, get your hands on an F22. You will not regret it. And the people who know. Yeah, that just hits completely different than any other flipper on the market. So really, other than specs and opinions, there really isn't a whole lot more for me to cover here. Sorry, I got my thumb on that. And if you do, like every frame lock, you cannot deploy the knife. But luckily, you just have to scoot down just a bit because this is hidden and definitely worth the effort. Anyways, this knife comes in right at about, I believe it's right at $300. And although, you know, poor boy like me usually can't afford that kind of thing, if you get your finger on the trigger on this one, gentlemen, squeeze. Alright, so I'm kind of hurrying this one along because, like I said, this knife is going in the mail today to a fine gentleman who I hope very much enjoys this as much as me and the previous owner did. At any rate, really, that's about it, guys. I mean, I'm going to cut this one, like I said, kind of short. I don't mean to ramble on, which I'm pretty good at. Ask my kids and wife. But that is it. The F22 Kickstop, an absolutely legendary design and a legendary gentleman's carry. All right, that's about it, guys. I'm going to wrap this one up quick. And we will catch you on the flip side. That flipper tab isn't connected to the blade. It's like the amount of kinetic energy that it builds with a very strong detent is just phenomenal.